I have been thinking of making a video like this for a long time. I was always disappointed by the lack of videos discussing Project Sekai story, despite how everything it is and the impact it had on me. I only found one channel, Tolerant, that did it. I highly recommend her videos, and I won't deny that I probably wouldn't be writing this script without them. This, coupled with the fact that I really want to try writing a video essay, has prompted me to give this my best shot. In this video, I'm going to analyze Mizuki's character at the beginning of the story, especially what we learn about her and how she develops over time. I'm aware that this video will end up being too long, so I'll probably break it up into parts. Your support will really help me stay motivated, and I'd be really grateful. After having left this clear, I hope you all find it interesting. At the beginning of the story, Mizuki comes across someone who is cheerful all the time and is really dedicated to her interests, especially her love for cute things. Even if the story doesn't focus on her until chapter 9, we can start to see beyond the first impressions she gives in chapter 4. A small disclaimer: I use both they, them and she, her pronouns for Mizuki, as nothing about Mizuki's gender has been confirmed yet, and both are used in the game. I don't want the fact they mainly use she, her pronouns to cause any kind of conflict in the comments. Any interpretation of Mizuki's gender is valid. In chapter 4, things goes as follows. After eavesdropping a short conversation between Mafuyu and her mother, Mizuki is quickly able to see Mafuyu's mother's true intentions behind the subtleties. This, for the first time, shows us that underneath her public personality, Mizuki is much more perceptive and mature than she seems. She tries to suggest her opinion to Mafuyu, but at the same time, she avoids judging or expressing anything too strongly, which also shows how careful she is when talking to others. Mizuki makes an interesting point about how she would feel bad if someone tried to impose their values or choices on her, which is one of her main struggles as a character. Mizuki asks Mafuyu if any of that bothers her, but after she denies it, she feels unable to insist. This interaction starts to present a more nuanced side of her personality. This course's main story really starts to take shape after they first arrive at Sekai. Mafuyu's line, "You all want to disappear more than anyone," acts as a trigger, causing the rest of them to reflect on what has happened in their lives and eventually admit it. Chapter 9 is interestingly titled "I Want to Be Myself," and it shows what gets in her way of being it. Mizuki has gone to school, something that she normally avoids since she finds herself being the target of rumors there. She pretends to be unbothered by it, but it does upset her. After an uncomfortable incident with two boys attracted by their curiosity, a pair of classmates she gets along with pretend to understand her situation and empathize with her. The two-faced personality of those girls will be soon discovered by Mizuki, who will find them blaming her for not fitting in. Her reaction to this is really telling. She is neither too surprised or upset. If anything, slightly disappointed. She's used to not fitting in with people and ending up alone for it. This episode makes her think in Mafuyu's world, and she becomes sure of something, that Mafuyu is a liar, just like her. I think it's a good way to show us why she always pretends to be carefree and is so distrustful. It's her way of dealing with the constant rejection of the people around her, when all she wants is to be able to be herself. She thinks the same is true for Mafuyu. Even if they pretend to be okay with it, they are both struggling against a world that seems determined to crush their identities. During the final confrontation at chapter 18, that thought early mentioned is what impulsed her to try to reach her by telling her that even if the decision is hers, she thinks they are similar in ways a lot of people find hard to understand, so it will still make her really sad if she disappeared.
そっかそっか。僕はユキの気持ちちょっとわかるな。
アミヤ。
ほら、天才だろうがお金持ちだろうが可愛い子だろうがきついことってあるし。ユキがどんだけすごい曲作れても一番欲しいものが手に入らないならユキにとっては意味ないと思うんだよね。だから僕はユキが消えたいなら好きにすればいいと思うよ。僕たちがいろいろ言ったところでユキの問題はユキにしかわかんないんだからさ。ならでもさ、なんとなく僕たちって似てるような気がしたんだ。周りに少しずつ自分の形を変えられそうになってるところとかさ、それに抵抗したり受け入れたりして。 そうやって必死になってるうちに疲れて、全部どうでもよくなっちゃう。そんな感じが似てるなって。あんまりこの気持ちを分かってくれる相手っていないからさ。だから僕はユキがいなくなったらただ寂しいって思うよ。
勝手なことばっかり。
I think this scene was the one when I fell in love with the character, as someone with similar struggles and way of thinking. This part is also a good example of what I like about Project Sekai writing. Our characters have their own psychology and are written in a relatable way that makes you root for them as they keep facing their troubles. That will be all for the main story. There isn't as much as someone could expect, but it makes sense given the fact they immediately centers on Mafuyu, Kanade, and their so-called cursed. But maybe, to counter that, her first event carries a lot of information. Mizuki, who usually avoids that kind of events and reminds them with bitterness, finds herself accompanying Anne to the school festival. However, she soon leaves her side to avoid being the third wheel between her friend and Kohane, who is shy and has just met her. While walking around on her own, she begins to feel out of place. There isn't anything new for her, so Mizuki accepts it with resignation. However, there is no time for self-hatred when Tsukasa Tenma is there, and after hearing his extremely loud laughter, Mizuki, in a sense of something better to do, goes to see what's going on. Dramatic music plays while Tsukasa dramatically kneels before his Juliet. Chapter 2 has officially started. They definitely didn't need to go this hard on the BGM, but they did. Our beloved star is practicing with the help of Nene, Rui and Kaito for the debut performance of Romeo Battle Royale, a masterpiece written by and starring him. That also happens to be his class festival activity. That was the noise Mizuki had heard, the one of a pleasant surprise. The sight of a lonely old friend that we know as Wanderer exultant director getting along with some newly acquired companions. Not wanting to interrupt, Mizuki sneaks again of a group that would gladly have spent the festival with her. Through this event, something becomes obvious. Even though Mizuki longs for genuine connections, she tends to push people away and isolate herself. Being again on her own, she starts reminiscing about the rest of Nidcore and their possible reactions to a haunted house. She is surprised by it. Why would she start thinking about them in a moment like that? She blames it on probably feeling lonely. Apart from being a clear way of showing us how she's feeling, it is a good foreshadowing of the haunted cheer Nyogo and Mizuki's second event. She may have started missing Nidcore, but luckily she found a similar enough substitute for Ena, her brother, and Toya, who was of course accompanying him. Toya kindly invited Mizuki to watch Tsukasa's play with them, while showing an abnormal amount of admiration towards Tsukasa that his partner can understand at all. The story is a subversion of the typical story of Romeo and Juliet. The catch, there are several more Romeos, and blood. Our hero, Swordmaster Romeo, must battle to death with the other 7 Romeos in order to obtain Juliet's hand of marriage. The blood splatters the audience while this is an intentional comedy. Tsukasa tries to write a drama, but his artistic vision is too avant-garde for others to comprehend. Rolls out, and then takes the others Romeo one by one. Mizuki is having a good laugh. Akito is in complete disbelief, and Toya couldn't be more amazed by the play his role model had put together. No one could have guessed that Tsukasa would forget about Juliet and ascend to become a cosmic being at the end. In conclusion, big theater. After Tsukasa's performance, Akito asks Toya why he looks up to him so much. Toya then explains that he is really grateful to him because he helped him change. In the past, he felt unable to leave classical music even if it made him unhappy, and what helped him gather the courage to do so was something Tsukasa said to him. What Tsukasa said was, "It's your life, so you should live it your way. If you don't like it, just say so," which I find really thematically fitting for this event. The story appears to want to draw a parallel between Tsukasa and Toya, and Rui and Mizuki, since Mizuki believes that she is a similar depth to him. Mizuki separates from those two to help them look for Tsukasa, since Toya really needed to explain to him his analysis of the philosophical implications of Romeo Battle Royale when he had it first. While searching, she came across with her fake friends from the main story. They greet her and ask her why she isn't wearing the class t-shirt. She excuses herself saying it was too bothersome to exchange. They again pretend to understand, saying that wearing the same t-shirt as everyone else is lame and boring and that they only wear them because everyone does. This makes Mizuki think about something I find quite interesting. She thinks that believing that being like the rest is uncool is a privilege of people who fit in easily, while people like her will always be treated as outsiders and never be seen as part of a group. They can say that because they have to make an effort to find ways to stand out and they have a choice over doing it. She continues searching until arriving at the rooftop. And after all this time, things come to where they began. Mizuki and Rui find each other on the rooftop, just the two of them, just like a few years ago. But even if the situation is the same, they are vastly different people. However, I'm getting ahead of myself. Mizuki goes to the rooftop looking for Tsukasa, but she finds Rui. They talk about Tsukasa and end up reminiscing about how they met. Now, we finally see the full story about that recurrent flashback during the event, that last school festival that Mizuki went to, and where her friendship with Rui began. Both of them had gone to a rooftop to hide from the crowds, and in Rui's case, to also enjoy the view of the lively festival. Mizuki asked why, if he liked it, he wasn't down there, but he cryptically answered that he was unable to form part of that. Mizuki understood what he was trying to say, probably because she was in the same situation, and from then on, they started to skip class together up there. As time goes on, they start to be more honest with each other, and Mizuki lowers her guard a little. This can be noticed in the fact that she's using a less low tone of voice. Mizuki, nonetheless, still has a more cynical attitude, and asks him if he meets with someone like her just for inspiration or something he could use in his shows. She finds weird the idea of him not having ulterior motives to talk to her, even if he denies it. While discussing this, Rui mentions how thinking only in shows is not a fault he plans to correct, but Mizuki inquires if he still maintains that even if it is the main reason he is alone. He then explains with a bittersweet expression how loneliness isn't as bad as people think, since it gives him time to enjoy his hobbies and he wouldn't have met her in other circumstances. Mizuki responds that she hopes that one day he'll be able to have friends who share more things with him apart of being alone, something both of them have finally found. Mizuki tells Rui that she is happy that he now has friends, and Rui replies the same even if Mizuki is not sure to call them friends yet. And just as they used to, they are again killing time up there while starving at the festival, but this time without the bitterness they would have felt before. And Tsukasa, Nene, Toya and Akito appear. They were looking for Mizuki and Rui and decided to team up. A lively group has formed up there, and for once, that lonely duo feel part of it. While they are chatting, Anna offers her to go to the night festival under class teacher, and after some bickering between Anna and Akito about how ugly a teacher is, Mizuki gladly accepts it and the event ends. Through the event, she befriended others and crossed paths with an old friend who had changed quite a bit, something that also applied to her. In this event, we can see how loneliness and the pressure to fit in have defined Mizuki, and how her newfound bonds with Nigo are a treasure new to her, and how, for that reason, she will develop a fear to lose it. It is a bittersweet story of a lonely person finding something she thought she would never find, a feeling of belonging and people she can connect with. At the beginning of the event, Anne offers their class t-shirt to Mizuki, who declines it. That t-shirt turns into a recurrent symbolism that appears to be in the card set. At the end, Mizuki accepts it, and it reflects in her car. Mizuki is wearing the t-shirt, but in her own way and style. I consider it a quite effective metaphor of her finding a place where she belongs without having to sacrifice her identity or what makes her happy. This is also conveyed by her holding a pair of sewing scissors and the ribbons around her. I also find really interesting how impactful was Rui in Mizuki's life. One of Mizuki's biggest traits is how passionate she is about what she likes, and it was him and Mizuki's sister, but she is introduced later in the story, who encouraged her to try to live true to herself even if that means being isolated. If it wasn't for Rui, she would be a completely different person, someone with no real sense of self, desperately trying to fulfill the role society expects of her, someone like Mafuyu. You could even consider that what attracted her to Rui was the same that would attract her to Mafuyu. They both seemed to be suffering in similar ways, unable to understand her problems. I would like to end this part talking about Mizuki's past. I already said that she was really different back then, but I didn't specify how. Mizuki had hair a lot shorter, and wore the masculine uniform. This, paired with what we heard from the other students and other small details, make me believe that she is likely to be a trans character. I think it is heavily implied that this is the secret that Mizuki is afraid the rest of Nigo discover, and the reason that for many years she tried to deny her true likings. Mizuki's story of wanting to be yourself in a world that sins against anything that doesn't blend in is relatable to many people and deserves to be paid attention. I would like to finish this video here, even if there's still way more I would like to talk related to Mizuki. For example, I could try doing an in-depth analysis of Sacred Distance, going from story to song to cards, but the video will be too long and I may not finish it ever if I don't control the scope. I feel proud of myself just for finishing this script, although I would like the video to be entertaining to at least someone. If you want to keep discussing the story in the comments or give any advice or suggestion, feel free to do it. This is the first time I try to do something like this, so I won't try to pretend to know what I'm doing. I wouldn't have been able to do this without the help of my twin, who collaborated with the script and did most of the editing. I would like to continue talking about Mizuki in a sequel video, and it was hard to resist the temptation of talking too much about Toya and Rui, since as a reader you learned a lot of interesting things about them in this event. But if I keep doing this, it may depend on the support this video receives. If I do, I will of course try to improve. Thanks for watching till the end, and bye.